everybody! Welcome to episode 144 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And tonight is episode 5 of What If Scenarios. We're going back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What if Jessica Biel had come back to complete the trilogy? Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live, ladies and gentlemen! What if Jessica Biel had returned to complete the trilogy? You have Texas Chainsaw The Beginning. You have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though they were released in opposite orders. What if they had done maybe the Laurie Strode treatment with Jessica Biel some years later? What if? I have to admit, when I found out that they were doing a Texas Chainsaw movie, another direct sequel to the original, I thought maybe this was a missed opportunity. Now, I know that Jessica Biel as, what's her name in the Texas Chainsaw film? I forget her name now.
Shit, I only remember her boyfriend's name.
Chat room will let us know. What was Jessica Biel's name in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? Because the chat room is full of crazy horror people that know everything. They're crazy. That's all they do. They will know. They will tell us. It's Bertha. It's Helga, Gertrude. It's either Helga, Gertrude, or Bertha. But I will say this, as the name is about to come in here. Somebody's on their phone right now. They're going, They know. What is her name? Was it Jessica? Allie? No, Lynn? Kip. Her name is Kip. Really? It's Kip?
Really?
Flet. No, Kip? Oh, maybe I think that's her boyfriend's name.
No, what's her boyfriend's name?
Kemper. So what's her name? The chat room doesn't know. They don't remember either. I could do a quick Google search here. Let me just find this out. As I'm doing that, you know that it'll come in. Aaron.
That's right.
That's her name? Aaron?
Right.
Okay, thank you, chat room. Thank you, chat room. Aaron is the name. And by the way, folks, if you want to send it a super chat, have your question guaranteed an answer, you can do that anytime throughout the show. Tony and I will get to them at the end of our little spiel. Aaron. Slaughter Lamb says Olive. Well, yeah. Aaron, Gertrude. Let's call her Gertrude. No. So Gertrude. I understand. We understand. Tony and I understand that Aaron's relation to pop culture and to the series, of course, it doesn't have the weight that a Laurie Strode has or a Nancy, a Heather Langenkamp. You know, of course. I mean,
obviously,
it doesn't,
her name. We can't think of her name off the
well,
top
that's
of our
it.
heads.
That's just it, right? And certainly not a Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott from Scream. Of course not. However, when you isolate these two movies, you have Texas Chainsaw The Beginning, which I thought was all right. I was actually really saddened that What's-Her-Face didn't make it at the end of the movie and she got her through the seat of the car.
Jordana Brewster.
Yeah, I was like, I was rooting for her. And it was really kind of the same movie, really just telling, it was really the same movie at the end of the day. But nonetheless, that Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003 is, I still think, the best Texas Chainsaw film outside of the original, I think, still to this day. And I think it's one of the better remakes that's ever been done. And I think there's an opportunity. And again, because it's not embedded itself into the pop culture like, you know, the other films that we've talked about have, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done to get people to care about it, the general movie-going audience to care about it in the same ways that they might care about a Sidney Prescott, a Heather Langenkamp, Laurie Strode, Nancy Thompson, all that stuff. But I couldn't help but think maybe that should have been the direction they should have gone. Scream coming back, Halloween and the success of Halloween. Why not explore an idea about maybe doing the Halloween 18 thing for Texas Chainsaw and completing a trilogy? And I think the goal should be to deliver a solid entry of film that would complete the trilogy. But if it's hugely successful and it's really good, you still leave sort of a door open for the possibility of maybe continuing it. Tony, do you kind of, because you and I talked about this off camera and you've always kind of felt the same way too, right?
Yeah, I think when it comes to this franchise, when people do list their favorites, usually the original and the remake with Jessica Biel tend to be at the top of the list. It's either the original is at the top, or it's the Jessica Biel remake that's at the top of the list.
Right.
Which is why I think that's again, like you said, she's not a Sidney Prescott, she's not a Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
But having said that, because of how popular that specific movie is, and because she was in it,
right,
people might just go, wait, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're going back to, okay, like, okay, well, what are we doing here? What's the end game? Are we gonna, is this completing the trilogy? Because I'm with you. I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. I didn't have any issues with it.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a prequel go,
I think the remake is better, but yeah.
Oh yeah, hands down for sure. But it fills in a lot of gaps that I don't think we needed to have filled in. However, I thought the kills were really good.
Yeah.
I thought the cast was fine. I have no issues.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, I thought Jordana Brewster was just going to make it out of there. But then again, at the same time, I'm like, I'm glad she didn't. At the same time, like, I'm glad no one survived.
Yeah. What would have been cool, and that I always thought, at the beginning of the remake, and you have that hitchhiker, I guess, that the girl that gets into their van blows her head off.
Yeah,
I always thought it would have been cool if we were watching the story of that, and that's what leads into, and then the end of the beginning is sort of the beginning of the remake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that I always thought that kind of would have been a nice tie-in. So the girl
there's a post-credit scene where you see the van driving that they're driving in at the beginning of the remake. You just see the van. That's all you see.
Oh, okay. No, but fair enough. Okay, that's cool. I didn't watch I didn't know there was a post-credit scene.
Traveling into the direction of the I almost said Sawyer house, the Hewitt house.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
I think Leonard Skinner's playing. I haven't watched that in a minute. But you know what it is. It's the van, that it's Kemper's van, and it's that's what leads into the remake. But
I still think it would have been cool if we had seen the story, because the hitchhiker that blows her head off, what's her story again? Is she coming from the Hewitt house? I
think she is, and I think her family. Yeah, because that would be if what's his name didn't pass away, which is and I know people have thought like Ernie? They should do a middle, Ernie. Yeah. They should do a middle part to this franchise telling that girl's family story. I agree, but you're going to have to do it without him now because, he's dead,
Yeah, you have to recast.
Like, where would he be? Like, you'd be like, or like you said, you have to recast, but Jesus, man, he did such a good job.
He was great.
Like, fuck.
He was great. I remember watching the beginning because it came out in 2006. I remember thinking to myself, I don't know, it kind of feels like a missed opportunity that maybe the story of the beginning should have had that girl that blew her head off. And we see her story, and we see her escape. And what happened
to her family. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And that's the beginning. And we see her escape. And then the beginning movie from 2006 ends with her like running out to the road, and we see the van or something, and that's kind of where it ends. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, kind of like how Rogue One ties into A New Hope. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that sort of thing. I thought that would have been a cool thing to do. But it's not like, imperative or anything, but just, I always thought it was kind of a missed opportunity. But yeah. So, I mean, we're both on the same page. I think it would have been cool to go in that direction. We both liked, we both enjoyed watching TCM 2022. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly if you love blood and guts and gore and you want to kill 74 minutes because it's very short, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
It's one of the better Texas Chainsaw movies since the beginning. Since that
probably
film.
yeah for that
when
reason.
You look at what's come out since
the story is just terrible, but the blood and the guts and everything I think is all right.
what's come? Am I missing one? Okay, so since the beginning, there was Texas Chainsaw. When I'm saying since the beginning, I don't
beginning,
mean that.
Texas Chainsaw 3D.
I'm not talking biblical. Okay,
right.
Since the beginning,
Texas Chainsaw 3D,
3D, right? Leatherface. Yeah, I thought there was one that was in the middle of that shit.
I think there is one. I can't remember now though. I don't know. Chat room will let us know.
Well, anyway, so if there's just those two and then this one, okay, so it's not like it's not a tall order to say that.
No, it's not. But I didn't like the story of the film though. I thought the story, I mean, it was, it was what it was to just get everybody together and, kill a bunch of people. But like I said in my video the other day, and shout out to Frank Riker of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, because again, this was his idea, not mine. I think Sally was completely underutilized in that movie, but I think it should have ended with her head being chopped off and not Melody's head. Ooh, that would have been shocking. Anyway, so here we are. Okay, so a new Texas Chainsaw film is coming out, and I think maybe going the Halloween 2018 route, writing a story, bringing back Jessica Biel if you can get her on board, and setting it in the mid 90s, setting in like 94.
What about doing something different rather than having her go to him? Because when we see the movie end, it's a shot on him. He's breathing heavily and she's driving off in the rain and whatnot. His family's dead now, right? As far as character wise,
right.
I think character wise, most of them are dead. She was able to drive over what's his name, Ermy, and kill him. And I'm not sure if the grandpa was still alive. I haven't seen. I didn't do my homework over the weekend, like I said I was, but that's all right. So, anyways, if Leatherface, for him, he's got motive. He's pissed off. His family's just been killed.
Yeah.
So, what about him tracking her down and goes on a rampage in her area, wherever she is?
It's not a bad idea.
Versus to him, it's doing something totally new that's never been done in this franchise. Everybody ends up going to, whether it's the Sawyer family or the Hewitt family, they end up in their neck of the woods.
Right. Okay.
I started thinking, like, what would be Aaron's motive to go back there? Why would she want? I mean, yes, I get you could do the whole confront your demons and face your monsters and stuff like that.
This is what I was thinking when I was thinking about this, because this isn't Shakespeare. And this shouldn't be Shakespeare. This is a Texas Chainsaw film. And if my pitch to the studio would be, we got to keep it simple. Okay. Yep. I mean, we can't forget the identity of what this is. People want to see it's a Texas Chainsaw film. It's not Black Christmas or Hereditary or some film that, relies more on suspense and eeriness and mood. This is blood, guts, and gore, and we need to deliver on that. And I don't think we should overthink it too much. So I think we should present a simple yet effective story that aligns with kind of what you would expect from this. But, if it's done really well, and, keep it maybe a tight 90 minutes, and make it really, really solid. I think it might be a really, has potential to be success. So my idea was this. My idea was you fast forward, it's 20 years in the future. Okay. So it's 1994, 95, because that's where you'd have to fast forward, because it's 2022, right?
Which age wise, that would make sense, because she's 20 years older since she did that movie.
Exactly. She survived. We see where she is now in life. So she got married, she had kids, and at this present time, she has a kid who's attending university.
Yeah, and you could say, because it was never established where they were from in the film, but you could say like they're from Austin, Texas, more like in the city area.
But who's to say that she even still lives in Texas? I mean, she could live somewhere else.
You could just so that you can keep the title.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm not done.
I gotcha.
So you can so she, let's say she doesn't live there. Let's say she lives in, I don't know, fucking Maine. I don't know, somewhere else. Okay, and she's got a kid that goes to university. And she goes to a university in Texas because she wants to go there. That's where she wants to go. Okay, now again, I'm keeping this really simple. This is a Texas Chainsaw film. It shouldn't be deep and, a lot of drama. You just make it serviceable, right? But make it really good. And this girl gets accepted to, I don't live down there. So, a university in Houston or Dallas or Austin or wherever. I don't even know there's a, sure. Wherever. And she gets accepted there. And she's been there for like a year or two. And she wants to, she gets wind. She knows her mother's story, right? And she knows what happened to her mother. And so she, and her friends kind of know because it was a big deal. She's the survivor of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? You could play it that way. Sounds very sort of paint by numbers kind of thing, right? Yeah, but this is Texas Chainsaw. What else do you want to be? I mean, think about this. Do you want to just
right,
do
you don't really need layers.
You don't. It's a fucking slasher movie.
But I like where this is going because it however you get you keep the character in Texas, and I think I know where you're going with
exactly.
it. So
now,
I do like that.
Jessica Biel at the moment isn't in Texas. She's in
she's wherever.
Boston, wherever, right? That's where she is with her dad, whatever. She's living a normal life. She knows her daughter is there. And maybe through the development, you understand that maybe she was hesitant that her daughter was going to go off to Texas, but she wanted to support her daughter because she got a scholarship maybe as a cheerleader, or I don't know, she got a scholarship as something else, maybe something academic, right? Who knows? And but she knows, and people at the university know, oh, your mom's like Texas Chainsaw Girl, like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And then her friends, her group of friends were like, we should go check out that house and see if it's still there. No, look, I promised my mom that I would never go. No, come on, road trip kind of deal, right? You know what I mean? And nobody knows whatever happened to this Leatherface. Whatever happened to Leatherface? Nobody knows. Maybe he disappeared into the ether like Michael Myers. I don't know. Or maybe we could figure out something. Maybe you do take a page out of sort of what they established in Texas Chainsaw 2022, which was, of course, he got himself into a home with a bunch of kids and a mother to look after him, all that kind of stuff. Maybe something like that happened. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to figure out more of a grounded, realistic thing that happened to him because he's not supernatural. There is no supernatural element to him, so you'd have to figure all that out. But that's what the writers' room's for. Not a big deal.
Oh,
maybe you got.
Look at what Geeked Out Turtle fan said there. I totally forgot that. Remember, she takes the baby away from the Hewitt family.
Ooh,
at the end. Ooh, there's a lot you could play with.
Oh,
that.
You're right. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Okay. Well, okay. Hang on. Okay.
So you can maybe play off of that.
There you go. Great. Thank you for reminding us of that Geeked Out, because I had totally forgotten about that too. Okay. Well, okay. So take that now. Okay. And that baby is the daughter. And I don't know if the baby was a boy or a girl, but let's say
I don't even know where the baby came from. I think it came from one of the families.
I think it did. Yeah. Well, what if that baby was the baby a girl? The baby was a she. Okay. Perfect. So the baby. So this like jives and connects right into my idea. So she obviously takes the baby away from Texas. She formally adopts the baby as her own, or maybe she doesn't even say anything. I don't know. You figure all that out, how that came to be, whether the authorities know about it or not, or whether she's legally adopted it or just had it, or I don't know. You figure out the details of that. Not a big deal. Pretty easy to do. Okay. But the point is, years later,
I like the idea of not being adopted, because you can, even if you didn't do the college route, if she finds out that Aaron isn't her mother, and she finds out the incident that happened.
Could do that too.
This would lead the girl to want to track down like what happened. Well, what happened to my family.
Right. And here's the thing is that maybe that's one of the reasons why that Aaron is hesitant on her going to Texas to go to university, but she supports her anyway. So she goes, all right, fine, serviceable, done, simple, done. She's, she leaves. She's an adult. She's going to go whether she likes it or not, whatever, right? Maybe she's got, like I said, a scholarship. So it's not totally dependent on funds from the family or whatever. So she goes. And through being there, she discovers who her mother is. Because maybe she happens to, I don't know, be attending the same university that her mother went to. Or maybe she knows something. She's able to, by being in the state, she discovers who her mother is. There's photos, whatever. I have no idea, right? And she goes on a journey to discover more about this, but she says you could play it both ways. You could totally play it that she doesn't know and she discovers it by being there, or she does know and she doesn't want to kind of look into, she knows about this and she's the kid, and then she's peer pressured into it. So one is peer pressured into discovering more, and the other one is motivated by her. So she as a character is motivated to discover more. Both work. You just kind of pick which way you want to go.
That's what I like about it, because you can, like you said, you can go either way with this. You can do your route where she goes to university, discovers what happens, or she discovers what happens. She's not going to university. She still discovers what happened, feels betrayed by Aaron that she was never told this. There's no legal, you could even have a line on there because there was no legal adoption. Well, you're not my mom, because Aaron doesn't want her to go there. You know what I mean? Well, you're not my mom. I'm going anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so she's going to find out what happened to her family. So like you said,
yeah.
Either way, it works.
Either way, it works. And it's a journey of self-discovery for her. And of course, eventually. What was the
baby's name? Did the baby even have a name in the movie?
I don't know. Did the baby have a name? Maybe it's Bertha, Gertrude, Helga, Helga? Could you imagine Helga? Helga Hewitt? Helga Hewitt. I'm telling you, that is an amazing name.
Remember the crazy girl that was connected to the Hewitt family living in that trailer that Aaron stole the baby from eventually?
Yes.
Okay. So
now Darth Vader James here says Aaron was pregnant by Kemper. Was she?
I thought Kemper was just going to propose to her, and that was it.
That's what I thought. I don't remember her being pregnant.
I don't remember her being. Wait,
was she pregnant?
Maybe he's right, because she wasn't smoking the weed.
Oh, maybe she was pregnant. Maybe she was pregnant.
Maybe she was pregnant.
But see, those things are easy. But see, those things are easy to work around. She could have also had a miscarriage during the whole kerfuffle. I mean, during everything, she may have lost the baby. And this is why and it's almost serendipitous in a way that this baby was given to her. Or, I mean, she stole the baby, obviously, because, I mean, the baby, I mean, it's not the baby's fault, right? So in some sort of way, if she was, again, these are things that are easily written around if you want to. Just because she was pregnant in that movie doesn't mean you have to see that through. You can justify it as she lost the baby during her struggle with the first battle with Leatherface.
The stress, the stress of that.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how far along she was. She couldn't have been that far along because she ain't showing. No. So, I mean, who knows what happened there? That's not a real thing a difficult thing to work around.
That's an easy workaround.
Right. Which can also, and maybe she does have other kids. I mean, maybe she does. Right? Maybe she's got a couple of other kids too, right? That are a bit younger. I mean, who knows? But certainly there's an attachment to this one child. And I think that would be cool. And then eventually, of course, Erin gets wind of what's going on, and she, makes her way down there to try and help and figure shit out and what's going on. And she shows up and shit hits the fan, and she gets involved with this journey of discovery. And she obviously meets Leatherface again at some point down there. And that will naturally bring them closer together. Now, whether Erin ends up dying or ends up surviving, who knows? That's something that, you'd have to figure out depending on what the sequence of events are and what sort of arcs you want to kind of have and all that stuff. But certainly I think it's a simple story. It is, dare I say it, cliche in the sense that it's very sort of what you would expect from this kind of a thing. It's not difficult, but it works. It works especially to bring back Jessica Biel, tie it together, nice sort of bookend, put a bow on it. It totally works. And it's Texas Chainsaw. This isn't, the Batman. I mean, it's Texas Chainsaw. That's a serviceable story that I think you could write it in, couple of weeks, month maybe. It's pretty, I think that would be an interesting take on it,
Yeah, because like you said, if you have her she just wherever they're living, Massachusetts, right?
Wherever, she's far away from Texas for obvious reasons.
She for whatever reason she finds out the truth, maybe from articles that Aaron kept hidden, and whatever, and she confronts her about it, and when she for her baby, whatever, we'll just call her baby for right now until whatever they give her name, and she wants to go there. Aaron, telling her no, whatever. She doesn't want her to, because she's trying to explain you don't understand just how bad it is. And, typical young adult, thinking I can do whatever I want. She storms out of there with her shit and, takes off maybe with a friend or two, because you got to have body count, right?
That's right. You got to have some buddies. Her boyfriend.
Maybe her boyfriend and a girlfriend or some shit like that.
You know what? I like this. And this is what I love about these what if shows, that Tony will, because if you remember on our Elm Street one, Tony had this really great idea and he was spewing it out there and everything. And then I said, "Ooh, what about this?" And then I latched on and sort of altered it a little bit to go this way. And Tony was like, "Yes." And then today, the roles were reversed. I had kind of this idea that I put out there, and then Tony's like, "Well, hang on a sec. That's great. Now, what about doing this with that?" And I'm like, "Oh, the more you talk about this, the more I like your idea. Instead of having her go to university, I like your idea better, where she discovers while she's in Massachusetts, right?
Right. She's home. She discovers.
She's home. She discovers this, and the road trip is down to Texas to find out the truth. And her mother is either hot on her tail or doesn't know, is eventually trying to go after her, right? Which leads them both.
Have a scene where Jessica Biel's in her kitchen, kind of tapping the table, grabs her keys, fuck it, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That,
because she because even though she's not her biological daughter, it's her daughter. I mean, she's raised this since this baby was an infant. You know what I mean? So it is her daughter. I mean, all through school and preschool and soccer practice and birthday parties and life was completely and utterly normal for 17, 18 years. So 20 years even maybe. So I think I like that. So instead of her being, but mind you, if people in the chat or who are watching after the fact like the university angle, that's still doable. You could still have her there, and that's when she discovers it by being in the state of Texas. And then of course your body count is the university friends. I mean, you could totally still have that. But I like your idea though.
And you said this is set in the 90s.
Yeah,
right?
94.
20 years after.
94, 95.
So we're kind of in the dawn of internet, sort of ish.
Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Smells like Teen Spirit playing in the car on the way down.
That'd be great.
You totally could.
Anyways,
it's a period piece.
You can have a false sense of security during the argument. Maybe as baby is discovering all this stuff, and she's finding out the Hewitt family died from this. You know what I mean? Grandpa's dead now. Ermie's character we know is dead. And they've never been able to find Thomas Hewitt. So they presume him to be dead.
Right.
So you have this in her argument with Aaron, Jessica Biel's character, that she's trying to convince her that, it's going to be fine. I need to know the truth. I need to see this for myself. The family's dead. The guy that hasn't been seen for 20 something years, and you can even build something around that. I mean, you'll have to probably put Leatherface in a situation where he's going to have to get a prosthetic arm, because I think he lost his arm.
Yeah, he did.
Correctly. So, which that's again, 90s, you can have a prosthetic arm. That's not, impossible.
Yep.
And the size of that Leatherface, he can still do a lot of damage with one good arm.
Oh yeah. Who say
which
didn't
actually,
grow back?
That would be kind of cool. But actually a one-arm Leatherface? No, because you got to see him weld the chainsaw. I mean, you know.
Well, he can still do it with one arm.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. How you going to
No, but he's figured it out. He does it with his teeth. He does it with his teeth. Now, see, Dark Light in the chat room says that's basically the Texas Chainsaw 3D story. Well, yes, there's elements that are similar, but here's the thing. There ain't no Jessica Biel in that film. And what this movie is really all about at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it's nostalgia fan service. It is to get Jessica Biel into a scenario. Well, it's not exactly.
Alexandria Daddario's character was a cousin. Sawyer or Sawyer already, and she inherited, the Sawyer house with Leatherface in the house, and it was going to be her responsibility to take care of him. So that's not the same story. It's a totally different story. It's a
sequel to the original film, not the remake. But this really, at the end of the day, is all about getting Jessica Biel. She's the cell. Jessica Biel. Who doesn't want to see the girl that survived? She is in that little window, in that little corner of the Texas Chainsaw universe. In that little corner of the Texas Chainsaw universe, she's the Laurie Strode, the Sidney Prescott, and the Nancy Thompson.
She really is. She's the most popular final girl in that franchise.
In that little kind of. Let's be real.
No one's sitting there talking about Sally Harvesting.
No one is. They're not. They're not. And no one's talking about what's her face. And it's so. You look for a simple, serviceable story that, of course, it's a slasher film, guys. It's a slasher film. If you want elevated horror, that's a whole different genre, right? But it can still be good, right? It can still be good with, great kills, well executed, makes sense, and you can add a few surprises in there and add a layer or two, sure. But you gotta, get your foundation. What is this about? Okay, and it makes sense. You use the baby angle, which was a terrific reminder from Geeked Out Turtle fan that, hey, don't forget about that baby. It's like, oh yeah, perfect. That's your in. It's like how when myself and Bruce were trying to figure out, to crack the code for Billy, we were thinking, well, what's our end point? Like, where do we go? And then watching the original film, we realized, well, Jess Bradford is pregnant, and yet there's no mention of whether she lost the baby or kept the baby. Sure. Now, she wanted to have an abortion. Yes, of course. Would she have had the abortion? Maybe, probably, who knows? But we thought, well, maybe not. Maybe the events of this night made her think that maybe she had the baby anyway, because she felt that it was a sign that she and the baby survived that night for a reason. So maybe she should it changed her life. It changed her whole outlook. And then eventually, of course, that baby had a baby and so on and so forth. And that was our endpoint. And there was no mention whether the baby was a boy or a girl in the film. So we just chose it to be a girl. So it works, and it's that connection, that lineage connection to the original, which is always sort of a popular thing with reinstating past franchises to bring either a daughter, a granddaughter, a grandmother. It's kind of what they do and what we did as well, but it works. If it's done well, it works, and it works well, and you as the OG fan, you're watching it with that emotional connection and attachment. So this is a great thing to do. And that baby survived, boom, there it is. And immediately now you have a story. Well, she would have raised it. Who's to say she wouldn't have? She raised it as her own. She felt a need to. She felt a desire to, because she lost her own baby. If she was pregnant in that movie, it makes total sense. It makes complete logical sense. She loses a baby in miscarriage, fighting Leatherface and fucking chopping off his arm. And she has this baby now who she wants to give a life to. It makes total sense. I absolutely believe it and buy it, that it's possible.
And you would have that that on-screen moment. So let's just say, okay, so baby goes there with her friends, right, who are basically disposable victims. You got to have disposable victims, and that's the easiest way to do it. Friends go on a road trip, maybe her boyfriend and two girlfriends, whatever. As shit's fucking hitting the fan, Aaron comes in basically in that heroic moment and Leatherface sees her. You have that kind of like, so like, and then you zoom in on his eyes and she's, you know, you zoom in on Aaron's eyes and you have that like, that kind of reunion moment between the two characters.
That's hugely important.
And she's saving her daughter and, you know, whoever's still alive at that point.
Right, exactly. And what's cool too is that I would write it in a way where, you know, we have Aaron in the movie throughout the film. So she doesn't she doesn't
it's not a Sally situation.
No, she doesn't just show up at the end and then, you know what I mean? No, she's in the film. I mean, we see her at the beginning. Maybe the opening shot is of her. I mean, maybe we see her waking up in bed in the morning or I don't know, you know, whatever it is. I mean, she's very much in the film. But there comes a point.
Maybe she brings someone with her so that you can have cut 2 shots of her driving to Texas, sharing the story of what happened to her, Kemper, and
could be her friend,
someone just to have that dialogue with. And again, another body.
Could have that as well for sure. And we see her get like, you know,
she's frantic. She knows what this girl is about to walk into.
Right. And I wouldn't want to have it where she just shows up at the end, like the last 5 minutes. No,
you can have that be the start of the 3rd act.
Yes.
When she comes in to save everyone.
Yes. But shit hits the fan and she herself gets involved and she's crawling through the mud and maybe it starts, you know, all that. Like she's very much gritty, grimy. She's in it again. You know, it's not a thing where she shows up in the last 5 minutes to just save the day. She, like you said, maybe like tail end of the 2nd act, beginning of the 3rd act, and she's in it. Like the whole last like half hour is her and her daughter, that's fighting.
Perfect, dude. That's perfect. So you can have her in the 1st act with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 2nd act can be really more full. She's in there, but it's really more centered around the kids. We're building an arc around them going to Texas, discovering the Hewitt house. Mm-hmm. And, maybe in that is where we see the cut 2 shots of Aaron frantically driving to Texas with whoever going to die.
Yes.
And then boom, Aaron's back into the equation in the 3rd act with her daughter, maybe a friend, and then the friend that she came with.
That's right. Yeah. It's a simple story. Very simple story. It's been quote unquote done before, those kinds of stories, but it's perfect for Texas Chainsaw, and it's perfect for a 3rd installment with Jessica Biel to just wrap it up. Now, if it's really successful and Aaron survives, I mean, maybe you do maybe it becomes this really surprise thing where I don't know how you would go on with Leatherface. I mean, he's not exactly the kind of guy that has longevity.
I'd have that.
I think it should end. Yeah. Leatherface like you see, Scream can only go on because Ghostface is different people. You know what I mean? And Jason and Freddy go on because they're supernatural, literally. Michael at one point was going on and on because he was becoming more and more supernatural than ever before. Chucky is, he's supernatural for all intents and purposes. And
I think Leatherface in this would have to.
Leatherface needs to. Yeah, he's full on. He's like Billy in a lot of ways. Like we never thought of Billy. And by the way, it's not Billy Lenz. I know people like to say Billy Lenz. No, that was the name they gave him in the remake from 2006. His name isn't Billy Lenz, okay? In the first movie, he was just Billy.
His name is Billy McRae.
His name is... I actually have a cousin named Billy McRae. I do. And I have an uncle named Bill McRae. So there you go.
There you go.
But I think... But you're right. Leatherface is not... He doesn't possess that supernatural side to him. So this is a really good opportunity. In hindsight, you're right. It's a good opportunity to kind of just end it. And then you have this trilogy. And it's a perfect ending for something like that. You
Absolutely.
Know what I mean? Fans would go crazy.
You got to stylize it the same way that washed out look that the other two films had. You don't want to change. I wouldn't want to change the tone of it because I want it to feel like they're all part of the same, What was that? What was it? It was like a washed out, like stylized look to the movie. I can't remember now.
Which movie?
Like everything was the beginning and the remake. The color tone that they used. It was like a washed out look.
Well, yeah, it was kind of saturated. There were a lot
very
a
saturated.
lot of browns, yellows.
Yes. Like it's like they pulled back on like the yellows to like wash it out, but also bump the contrast up at the same time.
Right. It's to give it a grittier
look. So they got to keep that
70s look. Yeah. Well, yeah, they do, but it would be nice to, but it's 1994. So I think it would be interesting to see more of a 90s look when they're in, say, Boston. But then when they get to Texas, you got kind of that vibe. And then it's kind of a neat sort of, change in feel, I think might be interesting. And I think this would be a really good fit for a story like this. And then it becomes a mother-daughter, quote unquote thing. Yeah. And she discovers who she is and
I mean, you could do a cheesy moment at the end where when Leatherface is dead, that maybe she finds the family picture in the car, and Jessica gives it to her and says, "This was your family. This was your mom."
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. But then she realizes that her mom has been that she,
maybe have that moment where it's like, "No, you're my mom."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
Something
sure.
like that.
For sure.
Happy ending.
I think she could discover that before Aaron even gets there. Like she's poking around, wherever, and she discovers, and I don't know where Leatherface would be though. After 20 years, I wonder where he'd be.
Killing people around the area and surviving off of cannibalism.
Maybe, maybe I don't know. Maybe he's got a whole state worth of food. He does. He has an entire whole state worth of shit. But I think that would be.
It's a very simple, easy way, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Yeah. And I think, if anything, like you said, this new film, it served its purpose. It was fun to watch it with you and, everyone who was hanging out with us that night. That's what that movie's intended for. Hanging out with your buddies, shooting the shit, watching a good scary movie. I think this would have had people going, wait, she's coming back? Yeah. Really? Okay. Wow. Okay. Like I didn't see that coming.
Yes. Yep. I would also, and just to put an exclamation point on the end, so it really is all about Biel's return. And not that you're not focusing on the daughter. I mean, the daughter's a big part of it because she was the baby at the end of the last one. So, I mean, it totally get it. But I would have Jessica Biel, with the chainsaw chopping Leatherface's head off. That's how it would go down.
That works.
It would go down somehow. Maybe she's enraged and she's there and she's everything. She's like, and off Leatherface's head goes. You know what I mean? And that'd be cool. That'd be
kind of almost like a silhouette back shot. Do you remember the icon? I call it iconic because it's a very creative shot, and it's probably one of my favorite shots within the franchise. And just as far as still image goes, is so cool when the house is backlit.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's a cool shot.
Maybe that you can kind of redo that shot. It's an outside exterior shot. The house is backlit and she chops his head off with the chainsaw. Yeah. That'd be cool. Saving her daughter. As she's freaking out. Yeah. Yeah.
Saving her daughter as well. You know what I mean? Saving the last remaining Hewitt. And, and again, I mean, that's one of the, it's not I mean, yes, technically she's a Hewitt or whoever she was, but she doesn't.
No, I think she's not. She's part of I think she's part of that family that, like the girl who blew her head off. I think that's.
Oh, that's who she's from? Oh, okay.
I think so. I think even some people in the chat were saying that could have been her mother. I thought that girl was portraying to be too young. I thought the baby was like her sister or a part of the family, but she is connected to that girl for sure. Whether it was her mom or whoever.
Well, that brings it right. But see, that also makes it too bad.
Comes for full
that
circle.
Also, if that is true, that also makes it too bad that the beginning wasn't about that family.
Yeah, I know.
Because then you would have this whole, like this one cohesive, really tight story between, I mean, imagine if the
family, Jessica Biel, and then Jessica Biel and the baby.
Right. Yeah.
I hear you, dude. I hear you. I know.
That would have been
definitely a missed opportunity.
That's a missed opportunity right there. That is a big miss because then you have a really nice tight trilogy, and it makes perfect sense.
They're saying they took the baby, so they did a C-section on the girl who blew her head off. Okay, so that's how the baby. All right.
Well, still,
she was still. So then that was her mom.
That was her mom.
Yeah,
that was her mom. Right. And again, if Erin was pregnant, okay, like I said, she couldn't have been that far along. It's not like she's sitting there 8.5 months pregnant, right? So she maybe, I would totally believe, if finding out 20 years later, I would totally believe that during that entire big fight with Leatherface, she lost her baby. I would totally believe that.
The stress of that alone.
Well, the stress and the physical bombardment that she went through. Yeah. I mean, I totally would believe that. And which makes all the more sense that it's almost like a gift, right? The baby, she took the baby because, it makes perfect sense. And who knows? I mean, maybe, I know the beginning didn't do as well as Texas. I don't think it did anyway at the box office. I read an article from Bloody Disgusting from 2007. I was able to find it. Their website looked so different in 2007. But I found this old article from Bloody Disgusting in 2007. So a year after the beginning came out, and it was an interview with the filmmaker. I believe it was an interview either with Platinum Dunes or a couple of the producers, I think, and they were asked, "Are you going to make another one, like, in this thing?" And they said, "No, we have no plans to." And I was like, "Oh, so I mean, it's been like that for a long time. I mean, 15 years. It's been like that. But it's too bad because but again, it makes sense at the time, right? At the time, it might not, well, first of all, it would have been a different third installment too, because it's only a few years removed and Jessica Biel's not 20 years older. Sometimes, as time goes on, the opportunities just present themselves, and you look at what happened with Halloween, and you look at what happened with Scream, and you sit back and you think, well, geez, I wonder if this is something that maybe, and it still could be done, by the way. I don't think they're going to do it now.
Maybe, I think she would do it now. I mean, maybe back then, maybe not so much because she was at a different place.
Yeah.
I know her and Timberlake were just kind of in their infancy of their relationship.
Are they still married? No.
Oh yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're going strong. Like 20 years or not. I don't know if it is 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's got to be close to that now.
Long time.
So then she went and did her thing. I think if they came at her now with all the hype that's been with Halloween and with Scream and even the Child's Play TV series, I wouldn't be shocked if she would be inclined to being like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Are we finishing it?
Yes.
I'm sure she's gonna be like, are we done with it? Like, is this, no loose ends?
Yeah.
Brooke brought up a point too. The baby did seem older than that, and the baby was sitting up. So
the baby was sitting up. Okay.
Yeah, I know someone mentioned in the chat room that it was possibly a C-section. That's why she was bleeding from the girl was bleeding from the hitchhiker was bleeding from the stomach.
Right.
I look, all I can say is this. I think we all agree that the baby and the hitchhiker girl are connected.
Right.
I think they are family because I'm almost positive she sees a picture of them.
Right.
In like one of those cars that's in the abandoned car.
I watched the beginning a couple weeks ago, but I haven't seen the
I ended up seeing
TCM 03
the
in a little
Batman.
bit.
I ended up seeing the Batman on Saturday, so I never really got a chance to watch the movies because I'm doing something after our stream tonight with not a stream, but another video chat thing.
Cool.
With regards to that. Yeah, I need to watch that movie again, but I'm almost positive the baby and that girl are connected somehow. If it's not her mother, it's her sister.
Yeah, it's for sure. But even if the baby was older than an infant and it's sitting up, okay, so the baby's a year old. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it's still
She's
aligned.
Still the same age.
She's still the same age. I mean, fast forward 20 years. I mean, who's to say that she's okay? So she's not in college, but maybe she's out of college and she's just come home. Hey, mom, I'm home, and maybe she's getting a job, and she discovers her. I don't know. It's all about being a young, late teens, early 20-something gal, which is like horror slasher 101, and she discovers who she really is, or she begins to discover.
Jessica Biel's producing now. Maybe Jessica Biel will produce it.
Maybe. Yeah, well, but I mean, it's unlikely that they will do that now because they just had.
Well, who has the rights to that particular, the Hewitt family? franchise.
I don't.
Or 2 films. Who is it? Platinum Dunes that has the rights
Platinum.
to that?
I don't know. Platinum Dunes. I don't know how the rights to Texas Chainsaw work, because right now, obviously, the direction they're moving in is with this Netflix. I don't know if they'll do a sequel to this. It depends on how many people have watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 and whether there's a demand for it. I think it's unlikely that you will see a sequel to, like, a film like how we're talking about. I think really that probably should have been what they did instead. And I think it probably would have been better, and make it a theatrical release. Well, not even. You don't even have to make it a theatrical release. You could, put it right to streaming if you wanted to. But I think that would have got a lot of people excited. And yes, I agree. I think Jessica Biel probably would have done it. I have a feeling that she would have done it for sure. Especially if you pitched it to her as the final installment. It's, you're the, and that's a pitch's job, right? Is when you have her in the room, you say to her, listen, in this little corner, you're like the Laurie Strode, you're the Sidney Prescott, you're the Nancy Thompson of this little 2-part franchise, little thing in the corner, and in the big thing. So you're just, and fans love you when they think they love you. I think we could really get you back, and we could, for sure. You pitch it to her like that, I could see her saying yes.
And actually, it's fun, dude. Impressive Media, you are in sync with my mind, because I was thinking as a final kind of a teaser shot, but you're not going to do anything with it, sort of stealing what Nolan did at the end of Dark Knight Rises with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, going into the Batcave.
Yeah.
You remember the little kid, Jebediah, the crazy kid? You can have him older, missing teeth, all funky looking and crazy the fuck out, standing over his, cousin, whatever, Leatherface, and he picks up the chainsaw.
Could do it. You could do it. Sure, you could.
What I mean? And he's continuing the family,
You could do it. You could do it.
So, like, that's that last shot. But you gotta somehow find someone so that the audience knows that that's Jebediah.
Right.
100%.
Right. That's easy to do.
Without the character really being involved in the movie at all, period.
Yep.
Or I don't know, I guess maybe you could have the character show up so people know it's Jebediah. There's a few ways you can flesh it, but I do like the idea of him standing over Leatherface at the very final shot.
Yes.
And he picks up the chainsaw, and he's just kind of got a very paced breathing. You know what I mean? He's not breathing heavy, but it's just, or maybe he cranks it up.
Maybe he does. And on the crank, it cuts to black.
Cuts to black. Exactly.
Cuts to black, roll credits. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. That's cool. I like that. Maybe you would need to have Jebediah in there as something so that the audience know that it's him. Maybe he's the one who, he's kind of luring the girls to the house.
Well, maybe he's the one that's taking care of Leatherface. Ironically, he's so much younger, but of course there comes a point when their cognitive abilities, when his cognitive ability,
is the same as Leatherface.
It's same, and then maybe even passes his a little bit, right? Yeah. So maybe even though he's say like 10 years or 20 years younger, there comes a point where maybe he's the one that's taking care of him. And maybe Jebediah is, maybe he's missing some teeth and he's a little strange, but he's not functioning. So maybe that's where Leatherface has been. He's a functioning, like Leatherface is a non-functioning person of society. Like he couldn't hold a job, right? He couldn't get married. He couldn't, he couldn't do those things.
He did in the beginning. He worked at the meat factory.
Well, yeah, I know. That's true. That is true. But
given what his ability is, that's not really hard.
No, but you know what I mean though, right?
Yeah, I got you.
So, but maybe Jebediah is a little more functioning like Ermi was, you know what I mean, or whatever. He's not. He's weird. He's crazy, but you find out that way that he's actually been taken care of.
And you can even have an on-screen moment where Aaron recognizes and she says Jebediah, and he looks at her like, I know you from somewhere, kind of like that. So you could have him in the film so people know. And you could have a misdirection of where, he seems like he's a good guy, but it turns out he's not a good guy. He took, to be bad.
Yeah.
And
that's
like
right.
I said, that final shot, of him, I could just see and the point of it is not to continue with him. It's
no.
It's that
it's just
what's the word I'm thinking? Ambiguous.
It's an ambiguous. That's right.
Ending. You know what I mean? Like Chris Nolan's
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yep. For sure. And of course, if it was hugely successful, they'd probably want to make another one, but
sure.
But it's all about bringing Biel back and bookending this little trilogy. And I think it's a great way to do it. It's simple. It's Texas Chainsaw. It's not meant to have a deeper,
no,
not at all. So, yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen it, They're not going to do it, obviously, but it would be cool. No. It'd be cool.
But you never know. Some studio head could be watching this and stumble.
They're watching it right now.
Hey, these two idiots.
hey. Well, we will send our invoices.
Absolutely.
And
we'd be willing to sit down and share as many ideas as you want.
There it is.
As long as I don't have to do any work.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's go to the chat and see what the chat room is saying today. I know a couple of super chats did come in. So let me just go over to YouTube Studio here and get them. I think it was just a couple of them, though. But now is your opportunity to send super chats in if you would like. A guaranteed your question to be answered. 2 super chats here to start. HT Story sends in $5, says, to finish off the trilogy, they could have brought her back and Leatherface is hunting her in Dallas where she lives. Well, yeah.
Idea. Like that.
Not a bad idea. Could expand on that. Darth Vader Jones sends in $2. No comment. Just $2 supporting the channel. Thank you very much, Darth Vader. Appreciate that. So just 2 super chats to start. So let's go over to the chat and see what else. What else are people saying here? The Knight says, what if Jebediah, after he picks up the chainsaw, he puts on Leatherface's face and cranks the chainsaw, then boom, cuts to black. I think that I don't think it's necessary. I think it's too on the nose. I don't think it's necessary to do that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're going for.
Because I kind of I like the Aaron and baby walk off. They're gone. We as the audience think it's the end of the movie. Yep. Then you see the footsteps walking, in front of the house, the Hewitt house, and it's Jebediah. He sees Leatherface, sees the head's been decapitated.
Yep.
Kind of looks up. He's breathing a bit heavy, picks up the chainsaw, breathing a little bit heavier more. And then you just build up to that final moment where he cranks the chainsaw. And like Dave said, cut to black.
That's it. Cut to black. And that's it. Yeah. That'd be cool. Halloween. Chat room's kind of asleep tonight.
Yeah, right.
You just say that. People go, what? Halloween. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what the hell that was.
Heard like a Stranger Things theme.
What was this? It's my intro to McRae Live. I just popped it on there. Richie Work says he's a child in a grown man's body. He is. So he's about 10-year-old in a 50-year-old body. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, he'd be older than 50. He'd be in his late 60s, probably. But that's totally something you could do. You could have Jebediah as the one that is taking care of him. And that's how, it's where maybe she, through the process of, I'm talking about the daughter, she finds Jebediah. Maybe Jebediah works on a farm or whatever, and Leatherface is on the farm. You know what I mean? I don't know. Something like that. And, she follows a trail of breadcrumbs, which leads her to the last remaining Hewitts, something like that.
Which would be them two,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think the grandpa in the wheelchair wouldn't be still alive. He'd be dead.
Oh yeah, no, he'd be dead. Even if he survived, he'd be dead now.
He'd be dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Darth Vader Jones just sends in another $2. Thank you, Darth Vader. Appreciate that. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. Yes, he did. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. No, that's impossible.
It's always possible.
Listen, Luke. It is always possible. It is always possible. That's it.
Are you gonna make it out at all this week to see the Batman?
I am trying to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm either this weekend or early next week, I think, is when I am going to venture to the cinema and watch.
Are they open?
They are open now. Yes.
Finally.
The movie theaters are finally open here in the province of Ontario. Well, and they're all like, they're lifting everything, mandates and stuff. And I think masks are kicking the bucket at the end of March, I think.
Because you and I tend to be, although with Batman, it might be a little bit different on how we view movies, but I am going to be curious to see what you think of it. I loved it. It's my favorite Batman.
Well, I mean, listen,
he's not my favorite Batman, but it's my favorite Batman movie. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I haven't seen it, but
that doesn't mean he's bad. Wait, I just realized.
No, of course it doesn't mean that.
No, he's if I were ranking him, he's in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah. Well, I like the style of film that it is. And so I have I know what kind of a movie it is. So, and I've seen the trailers and I've watched the reviews, non-spoiler reviews, and I've listened to what people have said, and I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a movie up my alley.
I think it
slow
is.
burn, film noir, mood, atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah, then I'm probably going to really like it. I mean, I loved Joker. I thought Joker was brilliant. So I have no doubt that I'm going to love this movie for sure. I don't know. I might walk away going, well, it was okay. But I have a feeling it's as as we get older, Tony, these are the kind of movies I tend to really relate. By the way, have you seen, completely off topic in terms of the Batman, but have you seen the horror movie, The Ritual?
I have not. Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. I watched it. It's a British film based on a book, but it's essentially about these guys who want to go. They venture off into I think they're in Sweden. I can't remember now. Backpacking, and one of the guys is suffering from guilt and trauma because their friend. They were in a store, and the store was being robbed, and his buddy stood up to them, but he kind of cowered away, and his buddy was killed, and he feels a lot of guilt for that. Like he should have stepped in to help him, to save him, and things like that. So he's on this backpacking sort of trip with these guys, really feeling a lot of that guilt. But anyway, so great character interactions. It's a gritty film, very independent feeling, and they eventually try to venture through the woods on this shortcut. Well, let's just say things don't go as planned, but it is so well done. Like,
when was it made?
2017. I'm very late to the party on it, but it's a really good movie. It's the kind of movie I've been saying on my channel. After I was done watching the movie, I was jealous, but not in a seriously jealous way. I was inspired. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I sat there and I thought, now I want to make a movie like that. And I sat there and I thought to myself, if I was presented the script to this, I would have made the same film. I would have made the same creative choices. It's eerie. The acting is great. And, they eventually, I won't tell you what happens, but let's just say, I hope that you'll be like, yeah, that was actually really good. I don't know if you'll like it as much as me, but I think it's kind of, if you like that eerie, kind of subtle,
hereditary type stuff.
Yeah, in that realm. It's a foreign film, and it's not, it's English, so there's no, subtitles or anything. But it's not a Hollywood picture per se. Really well done, creepy shit. It's cool, man. It's cool. I really love The Ritual. Veronica here is saying, love The Ritual. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Because I sat there and at the end of the movie, I was like, I would have made the same. There's this one scene, I won't tell you what happens. There's one scene where they find this cabin in the woods and they have to spend the night there because it's pouring rain and thunder and lightning and stuff. And I'm just like, I would have done it the same way. And they're kind of the lightning and the rain and the thunder and the I was like, I was drooling. I was like, yes. I would have made the same creative choices. It's full of mood and atmosphere, and the way they present the dreams in the obviously that guy is feeling guilt, right? So he's having a lot of reoccurring dreams about the incident, and how they wove the dreams and the subconscious into the reality of what's happening, like how they mesh those things together. It's so brilliant. It was really cool. I mean, I'm not saying it's the greatest film ever made. I just was surprised because it was a film I'd never heard of. And usually when you see a movie you've never heard of and you're like, oh, what's this? Okay, I'll check it out. Usually you don't walk away going, wow, that was actually really good. You know what I mean? And this was one where I was like, wow, that was actually really good. I loved it. Yeah. So I highly recommend it. The Ritual. Really cool if you like that kind of eeriness. Yeah.
Check that out.
It's really cool. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $1.89. Says, what's up, D&T? A little something for the channel. Thank you very much, Fast Forwards. Appreciate that. Yeah. Geeked Out Turtles fan. Halloween? Anybody? Halloween! Hey, Dave, why you going to talk about Halloween? I had somebody messaged me the other day and said, I just want to say that I'm not watching you anymore because you don't talk Halloween anymore.
Okay.
Seriously, somebody sent me a message to tell me that. Like, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll talk Halloween tomorrow, sir.
That's why I love doing this. That the reason why I didn't get to watching Chainsaw over the weekends, because I started watching, because I do a group anytime there's like either a new Batman animated movie. Me and my brother and a few other people will do like a video chat, kind of like talking about it or whatever. And in this one tonight, when you and I are done, and it's private, so it's like we're not sharing it publicly. This is
you're just hanging out.
It's just we're not hanging out with each other because actually we're all pretty much all in different states except for me and my brother. We're in the same state,
right?
And it's just dudes just fucking hanging out, shooting the shit, and I like that.
Shooting the bullshit.
We always like, man, if these people ever heard us talk, like for real, like if we were ever to publish this shit, oh my god, we would probably give people heart attacks because the shit we say, it will offend everybody.
Listen.
So I spent like the whole weekend watching. I watched the Nolan trilogy. I watched Burton's films. I watched some of my favorite animated ones so that I could put my definitive final top 10 Batman movies for this thing. So that's why I never got to watching the Chainsaw movies, because I literally, from the time I left the theater on Saturday, which was like 4 o'clock, because that was like 3 hours long, just been one Batman movie after another. So because these people, like that group of people, I kind of jump in on these, not always, like because like they get into like the comic book stuff and they'll talk their comics and all that stuff. And I know enough, like I know we're coming up, like this year is this year is the 30th anniversary that Harley Quinn was introduced to the Batman world in the animated television show. Next year is her 30th anniversary when she was first introduced in the Batgirl comics. She's one of the few Batman characters that didn't come through the comic books first. She actually came in through the animated series. So it's like little things like that they'll tell me. I'm like, oh no shit. Like that, because they're like super hardcore into this. But like our rankings will like nothing compared to like what YouTubers like Cody, doing, like the YouTubers pretty much, they stick to pretty much the all live action films. Whereas like in my top 5, it's The Batman, Joker, Batman 89, Batman Returns, and then Batman Halloween, The Longest Halloween, which is a 2-part movie.
Now let me ask you a question.
Which is an animated movie.
You just said you rewatched the Nolan trilogy, right?
Yep.
Now, is it just me? And I'm not taking anything away from the Dark Knight. I mean, it's a great film, absolutely, 100%. But I remember a few years ago, my girlfriend and I watched the trilogy sort of back to back to back. We took an afternoon. We started at like 11 a.m. We finished at dinner time, and we watched Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, and absolutely, The Dark Knight is a great film. Heath is great, for sure. But at the end of watching that, because I watched them back to back to back, I actually felt myself liking Batman Begins the best. Is it just me? There's something I really love Batman Begins.
Number 6 on my list is Batman Begins.
Yeah, I think Batman Begins is might even be the best in that trilogy. And there's nothing wrong with The Dark Knight, but there's something about Batman Begins I really like.
Yeah, no, because actually that's number 6 on my list, and then number 7 is Batman Under the Red Hood, which is a fucking great.
Boy, you were watching a lot of Batman.
Oh yeah, because I wanted them because look, these guys are serious, man. Like,
right, I got to
make sure I got to be on my egg. If I'm invited to the hangout, like my brother says, my brother's like, don't be a fucking idiot, okay? Like, like don't be an idiot. I got it. And then number 8 is the Killing Joke, which is it's a great comic book, great. And the animation was good. They didn't nail it like the comic, but it's still good enough. Number 9 is Gotham by Gaslight, which is a really fucking cool adaptation of Batman set in the 19th century going after Jack the Ripper. Really fucking great animation one.
Wow.
And number 10 is Batman and Harley Quinn. It's another animated one. So The Dark Knight is not even in my top 10.
Wow.
You know, when I'm counting animation movies in the equation, and in this type of conversation this is what these people do. Like it's not just the live action stuff. They bring in the animation films as well too, and whatnot. So like it's not the typical, like what Cody did. Cody's, playing it safe, doing all like the live action. If I were to just rank the live action, then The Dark Knight would be in there, and it would probably be up in that 5 spot.
For sure.
But I mean, Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker's, it's a great performance. I mean, I'm not going to minimize it, but in watching the Nolan trilogy over the weekend, Dark Knight Rises is such a bore fest. I mean, that movie was like, I just was like, are we done yet? And I'm saying this about a Batman movie. I'm like, are we done yet? Like, shit. But no, I agree with you. Batman Begins, it's like a really good way. It's kind of like what Nolan told a really great origin story. He nailed that right out the fucking park. And he obviously followed it up with a great sequel with The Dark Knight. Sort of like what Matt Reeves did here with this new movie. He told an origin story without recycling the same shit we've seen before in an origin story. You know what I mean? And that's what I really like. Like, I had this argument with someone over the weekend on a comment. Was like, how many times, like, he's mad, like, like a lot of people don't know what happened to Bruce Wayne and why he became like, motherfucker, if you don't know by now that his parents were killed and that this is why he became Batman, I mean, fuck you. I mean, shit, how many times you need? And I started thinking, if Dave was here right now, he'd be like, see, dude, they could do Halloween Ends, and then the following year fucking say, you know what? We're just going to start all over again. We're going to tell the same exact story. Young Michael kills Judith, grows up, kills Laurie and her friends, and people would see it. And just like this, people want to see that same fucking Bruce Wayne, parents killed, goes off to training, becomes Batman. Like, bro, we've seen that shit. Like, I like what Matt Reeves did, which is why I think you're going to like it, because it's, like I said, it's an origin story, but not an origin story.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
year.
Really
I hear good. Like it's his second year. Right. You know what I mean? As Batman. So he's still new.
His origin story for what he's launching into this, whatever he's going to do next. And people, man, I crack up. Like, Dave's right, man. People just want to see the same shit 100 times over.
They do. They do. Absolutely. They do. HT Story sends in a generous super chat. Thank you, buddy. And says, hey, Dave, if you were hired to write a new Nightmare sequel, would you bring back Mark Patton to play himself and have Freddy trying to recreate Nightmare 2 like he did in New Nightmare trying to recreate Nightmare 1? I would say no. I would not do that. No, because you see, the New Nightmare thing is a tricky slope, because it's not although it looks like Freddy, it's actually technically not Freddy, right? It's an entity that is embodying, that is becoming Freddy. So it's technically not Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger doesn't exist in this self-aware meta universe because everybody's playing a fictional version of themselves. So the entity why would he do that? I never got the impression that, although there are certain musical cues and certain cues like the tongue on the phone and, certain other things, the house with the blue door and all that kind of stuff, I never got the impression that the entity was trying to recreate the first Elm Street movie. Now, maybe I missed something. Maybe Wes Craven said that somewhere, that he's coming through trying to recreate the very first movie from 1984. I don't think that, I never got that impression. I just, for me, those just played out as creative choices that were made because it was the best in the franchise. So they're just nostalgia cues that the audience can recognize and pick up on, the tongue and the phone and all that kind of stuff. And it's happening to Heather, and we're going back to the, you know what I mean? I never got the impression that there was any sort of conscious awareness from the entity that he was doing that because the entity was a fan of the first Elm Street film or something. I never got that impression. So it would be weird for him to suddenly come back and recreate Elm Street 2. Why is he doing that? Is he a fan of Elm Street 2 or something? No, I don't think so. I wouldn't go that route. I mean, listen, I mean, if somebody came to me right now and said, we want you to do this, I mean, geez, I'd be stupid to turn it down because it would be my into making a big movie. But, I'm not, if that's what they wanted me to do, it wouldn't inspire me. I'll tell you that. I'd be like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess I'll figure it out. But yeah, I wouldn't be inspired. What about you, Tony?
Same. No, yeah. I totally agree with everything you said.
What else?
D-Man, you missed my caveat to that. I said the reason why The Dark Knight's not in my top 10 is because I'm including the animated movies that I watch. And it's really, the top 10 list is really more based around which ones I watch on a more frequent basis. So the ones that I listed off, those are the ones that I watch on a regular basis, on a yearly. I don't watch The Dark Knight or Batman, The Dark Knight Rises as much. I do watch it though. And as I said, if I was doing all just live action, then absolutely 100%, The Dark Knight would be in my top 5. But because we're including the animated stuff into this, our list is not going to be the same that you would typically see on YouTube, and it's not intended for it. Right. Because we go into like the comics, we go into the animation, movies that are out there, and the TV series like Batman Beyond, Batman the Animated Series, and whatnot. So it's more, it's a different type of top 10 than like what Cody did today, and what pretty much everybody does anytime a new movie comes out that has a franchise to it, and it's almost like right to the dot, to the minute, all of a sudden on my suggestions list, Batman top 10, ranking all the Batmans, ranking this, like, that's the YouTube formula. Everybody's putting out their top 10. So if I was doing that, if I was just doing only live action, no fucking doubt, dude, The Dark Knight would be in the top 5, 100%. No argument. So, but gotcha. Animated, when that's in there, bro, like it's going to be it's entirely different.
Gotcha. All right. Any more questions, folks? Any more questions? Chat room feels a little sleepy tonight. Maybe people aren't interested in Jessica Biel coming back. They're just like, no, you're not talking Halloween. No, I'm just teasing. Who knows? People have lives. But it's a little sleepy, Got to give Tony and I a reason to stick around, or we'll just shoot the shit ourselves. Tony, how about...
I'm not going to mache slasher because Dave hasn't seen the movie. I'm not going to give any spoilers out.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't...
Totally not going to do that. Totally not. Let Dave have his moment to enjoy it, and then I'm sure Dave and I will be talking about it, once he sees it.
Oh, we'll be talking about it.
I'm sure.
Now, part of me would love to do a watch along of that here on the show, but that's a 3-hour movie, though.
We technically can, because I do have HBO Max, and I can hook you up like I did with, and it comes out
45 days.
Yeah, April something.
Yeah, but it's a 3-hour film. Oof, I'm gonna get numb bum sitting there watching.
Well, look, I would rather do that than Titanic. I would rather do a watch along with the Batman with you because I just if I know I don't want to spoil anything because I know your taste and I know what you like. I just think you're really going to enjoy this because I know you're the type of person who loves the layers to movies.
Yeah.
You love the slow burns. You're not into like all the boom, boom, you know what I mean?
I like that too, but
I mean, I get it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like a kid on Christmas, like trying to like anxious, like I want to talk to you about it.
I hear the Batmobile is pretty fucking cool though.
I loved it.
Yeah, I hear it. I saw a clip and I was like, oh, because you and I both have muscle cars, right? So
well, yeah.
So it's we see something like that, we're like, whoa.
Thoughts on Rob Zombie remaking Season of the Witch? He's remaking the Season of the Witch.
What's going on here? What's happening? Season of the Bitch? What's going on?
Veronica said thoughts on Rob Zombie remaking Season of the Witch. He's remaking it?
No, I don't think so. I think she's just probably asking what would our thoughts be. Maybe
what were our thoughts? I was like, shit. Like, where the hell was I? Like, that's like
I wouldn't want to see Rob tackle that.
No.
Well, I don't know. It depends what he does with the monsters.
Yeah, I'm hearing good shit. Like I'm hearing like this isn't going to be a typical, which I hope for his sake, it's not his typical type movie with the same basic, character arcs. Like I said, I'm not going to be on board with, listening to Herman go, I almost said Lilith.
Mm-hmm. Lilith.
That's what happens when I watch Cheers every night. Lilith.
BB. Is her name BB?
BB Newirth.
Newirth, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. She used to be a ballet dancer, right?
She was totally. Yeah. She that's why they had her sing on Cheers because she was on a Broadway performer. She's great singing voice, absolutely. She's my all-time favorite character on that show, and God, she's fucking hot. But
her action, I love when she comes back. On Frasier when she comes on Frasier,
her so quick good. Whips that are, dude. It's just like,
my girlfriend and I laugh all the time. We love their interactions.
Lilith was savage before savage was even a thing.
They were pretty. She was. She
really was. Like her, just like she basically could cut Frasier in half with just like the one line, and Kelsey played off of it so great. I mean, you gotta give, it's not just her. I mean, yes, but it's his playoff. That was so fucking good. But Lily Munster, I don't want to hear Herman be like, Lily, you goddamn fucking bitch, blah blah. Like if I hear that, I'm checked out.
And I'm
totally checked out.
I would imagine, although I don't know who's the studio behind this.
I don't know. Good question. I do know his wife is Lily, of course.
Of course.
Who else is going to be Lily Munster?
Not the Monsters, the Munsters. Who is behind this? It's Universal. Okay. I mean, this is a black comedy horror film. Okay, at least according to Wikipedia at the moment. I don't imagine they'd be trying to get an R for this. I mean, it feels like something you'd want to bring your family to.
PG-13, maybe PG-13.
PG-13. Yeah. I would suspect PG-13. I don't suspect we're going to get, full skull, fuck you, bitch. And, I just don't want the monsters to be hick and white trash, because that's all I ever see from Rob Zombie. That's it.
That's what I mean. It is. That's why the jury's out on this. It's like, are we going to get Rob Zombie, Halloween, bitch, I'm going to skull fuck you.
Yeah. That's what, I don't want that.
Like no one does. That's not the monsters, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like no one does. And I hope for his sake he doesn't. So, I mean, he's been a lifelong fan. I know this is his baby. He loves it just as much as I do. I love the monsters as well too. I watch it every October, I always get excited to run through the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Every October, I get excited to run through the sprinkler.
There's only 2 seasons. It's kind of, what's amazing about that show and how it stand the test of time is very similar to Star Trek. Star Trek only had like 3 seasons. It wasn't on very long.
No, it wasn't. 70 something episodes, I think. 72 episodes.
It rose and that was it. It was gone.
Yep.
I know you got a couple more super chats.
I do. Here. Yeah. Cody Snyder just sends in $5. Says, for the channel. Thank you very much, Cody. And Booster Seat sends in $2. Says, Father, could you help an old altar boy? I'm a Catholic. That's good.
The Exorcist.
That's good. Yeah. But I also like, Frasier is such a good sitcom. I love Frasier. Frasier.
I hope whatever they're doing, and I know they're pitching to bring Frasier back.
Yeah, Paramount Plus. I wonder what the status is of that.
I hope, in my opinion, I would love to see. I'd love to see Lilith more, because I would love to see the banter between Frasier and Lilith at this age, and just the torture she would put him through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I have no idea what direction they're taking this in. I don't even know if BB would even want to do it full time like that. I
always thought that they should, because I don't even know if David Hyde Pierce is going to want to come back or anything.
Or what's her name who played Daphne as well too.
Yeah. I forget her name.
And of course, John Mahoney isn't here anymore.
No, he passed away. I always thought it should have been maybe, and this might be a little cliche, I don't know if the chemistry would work, but it should be maybe, what the hell is his son's name? Frank? No.
Oh,
not Edward.
Holy shit.
The fuck is his son's name?
And I'm at right now where I'm rewatching. Of course, I always watch Cheers all the time.
Frasier's son's name.
She just gave birth to him. Frederick, that's it. Because I'm at the episode where Sam's like Freddie and Lilith is just like Frederick.
Right.
Little Freddie.
I mean,
Frederick.
Freddie would be like fucking. He'd be he'd probably be a little younger than us, but not much.
The character was born in the early 90s because that's what she.
So so there you go. So he'd be
30s.
30, yeah, 31, 32, 33.
Early, yeah. If he's not 30, he's like 31, 32-ish.
Right. So you could have it as maybe Frasier has to move in with him. It's almost like a reversal, you know, and it's about that relationship because listen, as the old saying goes, once you leave, you can't go back. And it was lightning in a bottle with Cheers. Frasier was lightning in a bottle in terms of a spinoff. It's one of the most successful. I mean, to do that for a third time, it would have to be an incredible cast. You're not likely to get Roz and Daphne and Niles and even if you do, what do you? I mean,
where do you go?
Where do you go? What do you do? Now that doesn't mean that they can't show up for guest appearances like Lilith did. But it would have to be about something else. I mean, he wouldn't be on the radio. Maybe he's practicing again. He's older.
Podcasting.
Maybe he's got a podcast. That's right. So it's kind of like a radio show, but he's got a podcast. And
him and Niles maybe have a podcast.
Maybe. Maybe David Hyde Pierce would want to do it. I don't know. It might be fun for a bit, maybe for like a season or two. Maybe they could get like a small run, kind of like what they did with Fuller House. Like maybe you get like a few seasons out of it.
Didn't Will and Grace get like 3 or 4 more extra seasons too?
Yeah, I don't know. Something like that. It didn't last very long. Is Roseanne still going? I know they're the Connors now, but is that on still? TV. I don't know. You know what? I mean, I don't know. It's also past its due. I mean, its audience is not people who are in their 20s. Its audiences are people who are 40 to 70. I mean, that's really the audience, right? So it's probably got a very short life, even if it did come back. But it would be interesting to see where this character is now, because obviously he's in the golden years now. Whereas on Frasier,
he's the father's age now.
He's the father's age now, right? Whereas on Frasier, he was our age. So, you know, yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, hell, maybe him and Lilith got back together.
Like I said, that would be fun. That would be fun to watch.
It would be fun.
Old man Frasier with Lilith.
There's so many funny moments.
Lilith driving Frasier crazy.
Dude, there's so many funny moments. I love the episode where Frasier goes to, I forget where he goes. He goes to like the Bahamas or some.
Oh, and Lilith is there.
And Lilith is there. Right. But then there's he wants to make her jealous. Well, and he's like standing on the bed, rocking the bed, going, "Oh yes, yes, more." And then
walk in on him.
Yeah, and his lady comes out and is like, "Well, I guess you don't need me."
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Oh, I love every episode. I mean, some were better than others, but every episode was really good. I love the one too where they're so obsessed with the spa place, and there's like the silver door and the platinum door, and they have to keep going through this, and then they end up through this one door, and it's like out into the alleyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love that show. Well, you obviously have them all digitally, but I about 5 or 6 years ago, I bought them all on DVD. And my girlfriend and I will often just like pop in a season and just sit and watch it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Darth Vader and see, I think you were different. I think you really appreciated Frasier when it was actually on. I didn't.
Oh yeah. I watched because my dad really was into that show as well too. And obviously, you know, growing up watching Cheers and really being a fan of that show, and then when it came to an end, being a Cheers fan, obviously we were curious to see what, you know, they were going to do with Frasier because we knew it was coming on, and pretty much right from the get-go, you know, it was, it was a cool show to be able to watch with my dad, you know, when it was on at the time.
Yeah. When it first came out in 93, you and I would have been 14. I wasn't a fan, and it's not I think it was just because I was a teenager and I didn't have anybody like, you know, like my dad to watch that with or something. And it was, I mean, in terms of sitcoms go, it's and the writing, it's a smart, intelligently written sitcom. It's not like watching, you know, Alf or Alf, or like, you know, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something. I mean, it's not that kind of comedy. It's more witty, intellectual comedy. So I didn't appreciate it when it was on. And I remember in the evenings when it would come on and I'd hear I would turn the channel like, I don't want to watch it. But in around 2012, 2013, my girlfriend was like, you gotta watch her. She loved it. And so we sat and I fell in love. I was like, I didn't know what the fuck I was missing. But then I just didn't, you know, I couldn't have appreciated it when I was a teenager. But when I hit my 30s, I absolutely appreciated it. And it's one of my favorite shows of all time, period. I think it's hilarious. And Cheers as well. Cheers I appreciate more now than I did when I was a kid.
Frasier, for Cheers fans, obviously it was, you know, the absence of Cheers, but Cheers was still kind of going on through the legacy of Frasier.
Right.
You know, at that time. So it brought a lot of Cheers fans over. My father, because see, I used to watch Cheers with my grandfather. My father wasn't, I mean, he liked Cheers. You know, he was a mailman. So, you know, we constantly would tease him on the Cliff shit. All the time. And, you know, but Frasier, he, you know, for whatever reason, it just kind of like from the get-go, right out the gate, we were there watching it, and it was a good show. You know, and that's like you said, it's really fucking hard to do a spin-off, and not only do a spin-off, but to almost rival the, you know, the Cheers. I mean, it really does when you think about the amount of Emmys and just everything they did right with that show. I don't know if they can you catch that lightning again? Probably not.
Well, no, it's a different era too. I mean, network television isn't the same, you know, and
streaming.
It's streaming, and it's a different vibe. It's a different culture. The entertainment industry has evolved. It's a different pulse. And I will say this, a lot of the older sitcoms, you know, when I watch, like, whether it's, I don't know, The King of Queens, which is one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. You know, like a lot of the older sitcoms, I can't tell you how many times, I'm sure you've done this as well, where I'll be sitting with my girlfriend and, you know, and we'll be watching it and we will laugh hysterically at it because we're from a certain era and a certain generation. But we both turn to each other and are like, well, you can't do that now. Like you
know how many times
you can't
we do
say
that
now.
Yes.
You can't do that joke now. And nope. I laugh hysterically because, you know, I think it's hilarious. But there's many times where we're like, well, you can't do that. So, you know, not that Frasier was a crass show. It wasn't, but it was, you know, there were some non-PC things in there. But they were sophisticatedly or told very sort of, it was told through a witty joke, you know, and there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, you can't say that. There's so many times I'll be watching the old shit and I'll be like, you can't say that now.
Dude,
and it's
All
not
in
even
the Family.
That's like the gold standard of that example. I mean, Archie Bunker was outwardly racist. That was just part of his character.
Could you imagine someone who is so PC and so easily offended sitting them down to an All in the Family? Oh my God, they go into convulsions.
I would love to see it. We should watch some of it.
You know what we should do? We should totally watch it one night. We should.
But it's one of those things where it's just a different Paul. So although I think seeing a Frasier now, a lot of and again, we have to remember that Cheers ended and Frasier began immediately.
Immediately. Like there was no break.
There was no break. So it's like now it's been, I mean, Frasier's been off the air now for almost 20 years. It's been 18 years. It went off the air in 2004. So, I mean, you know, it's just, it's kind of different. And where do you pick up? And you'd be tuning in now for no other reason than nostalgia and looking to, I mean, that's why, I mean,
and how long would that nostalgia really last?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
My girlfriend and I...
Might be for a couple episodes, but then I think after that, it would be like, all right.
100%.
You know?
And that's how we felt when we watched Fuller House. We watched a few episodes of Fuller House. It was a lot of fun from a nostalgia perspective, right? And you know, it was like, oh, there's Bob Saget, rest in peace. You know, Dave Coulier and you know, oh, this is kind of fun. Everybody's together again. And Candace Cameron and all this stuff.
Hey,
and
don't forget Orange is the New Black, Aunt Becky.
That's right. Yeah. Criminal Aunt Becky. Aunt Becky. But I mean, it's fun, right? But something that we noticed too, something that we noticed too is that, Fuller House, we watched a few episodes. Then by the end we were like, okay, we're done. Like we got our fix, even though it went 5 seasons and like 60 episodes or something like that. But the thing is that we were watching it and we're like, it feels very much like a Disney show. The laugh track, and I don't care. I mean, listen, we grew up in the era of laugh tracks. I know today people are like, oh my God, I can't stand all the laughing. It doesn't bother me when I watch a sitcom, even a newer one that maybe is airing on network television has a laugh track, because that's just how we grew up. But the laugh track on Fuller House is like every 5 seconds. And and the jokes are it feels like, I know Full House was a little corny. And of course there were those moments at the end where the music would come in and you'd learn the lesson but it wasn't like Fuller House is like epic Disney Channel cheese, like a Hannah Montana episode or something.
Yeah, it's like it was on steroids.
Yeah, it was just overkill. It was over sappy and over silly and the acting was just over the top and stuff. So
I honestly think they could have done just like a Fuller House like short miniseries, and I think that would have been enough.
Well, that's another thing. What I don't understand too is that, well, I mean, I do get it. You know, you want to make more money, but a lot of these shows I think would just do well, as you said, maybe just have a reunion special where it's like
5 episode special, you know, whatever.
Right. Or one long 2-hour thing, you know, or something, or even an hour, because really at the end of the day, I don't want to speak for for everybody, but for me, I don't really care at the end. Listen, if it's really good and it's really great and the writing is amazing and the characters are amazing, sure, I'll watch another 9 seasons of Frasier or 11 seasons of Frasier. Sure, okay. But at the end of the day, really what you want to see is you just want to peek in and see where these characters are now. You know what I mean? And revel in the nostalgia, kind of go, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is, it's kind of fun. It's exciting. It feeds your nostalgia, hunger. And then that's it. And you can do that in an hour episode or a 2-hour special, or like you said, a 5 episode miniseries or something. You don't need this, another 6 seasons of Will and Grace, or, whatever it is. I mean, you don't need that, you can, because it's all, because the kids, like the people coming up today, have no idea who the fuck these shows are, although that show didn't end too long ago, but it'd be like introducing, Friends might be a bit different, but anyways.
No, I get what you're coming from.
I don't want to see 60-year-old Jennifer Aniston hanging out with 60-year-old Matthew Perry. And
absolutely not.
Nobody cares anymore.
And I felt that way with Fuller House. Look, I love me some Candace Cameron Bure, however you pronounce her last name.
Sorry.
Bure. She was a huge crush on her back in, the late 80s, early 90s with Full House. Love me some DJ Tanner. But I think what it was is that there was also that kind of reflection back that, like, I remember as I got to like the 3rd or 4th episode, like, wow, we're not kids anymore, are we? You know what I mean? And like, I was like, because we're basically the same age as Candace Cameron. We're in that, like, year or 2 apart from each other. And I think that's what was really, it was great to catch up, like you said. But I think because they're not kids anymore, you know what I mean? It's just like, this was a show for us, obviously, when TGIF was, booming, back in the day.
Huge.
Family
Matters,
Family Matters, Perfect Strangers.
It's a rare condition this day.
There was no way you could not miss TGIF and not talk about it on Monday. If you did, you were just out of the conversation. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it was. Like, it was, it's like you say, cool to catch up with the characters, but it sort of wore itself off in a very short, and I didn't stick with it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It just, so maybe they're going to do something like that with Frasier. I don't know. It's just like kind of a, catch you up to, 5 episodes,
because that's what it's really all about. And
that's it.
I think sometimes, obviously, whenever you produce a show, you always hope to get a new audience as well. People who maybe tune into your show, they can find its an identity all in its own, which then causes them to go back and watch the original, very much like movies and things like that. That's why a lot of studios will produce films like Halloween and Scream in the ways that they do, and they call the movie just Halloween and Scream, and it feels like a remake, but it's a sequel, but it's a remake, but it's a sequel. But it's a remake, but it's a sequel, and that's designed that way on purpose to try and kill several birds with one stone, to please the nostalgia audience that grew up with it, but also try to get new people on board, which cause them to go back and watch the originals and all that kind of stuff. And television is generally no different. But the problem is, though, is that, again, it's a lot of television can be dated. And a lot of the jokes obviously won't land today, depending on the show that it is. And you don't even have to go to All in the Family. I mean, just watch shows like King of Queens or Frasier or even Cheers. I mean,
Married with
Children. It's not every episode, but Married with Children.
No way you could not do Married with Children today.
No, unless
I've heard people say like they should do Married with Grandchildren. No way, unless it's the architect of what that show was back in the day. I don't want to see a politically correct version of the Bundys.
It would have to be Al Bundy learning to live in a politically correct world, and that's the funny of it. That's the humor,
I guess.
Like how Johnny from Cobra Kai learns to adapt. You know what I mean?
Right.
But how many episodes?
Al would never adapt.
no, and that's it. And how many episodes can you do of that? Really, at the end of the day. So I agree with you. I don't really have a desire, but again, if it's really good, I will. Of course I will. But really at the end of the day, you just kind of want to check in on these people like you're going over and having lunch. It's an old friend you haven't seen in a while, but it's not the same anymore. Once you leave, you can't go back. There's nothing wrong with getting together. It's like that old friend, right, that you grew up with. You were the best of friends, and life takes you in different directions. And then you get together again years later for lunch. For lunch. It's nice. And you spend most of the time doing what? Reminiscing. Because you have no other history together. So you spend most of the time reminiscing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you ask each other how you're doing and what's going on right now. And it's really awesome. It is. It's nice to see each other again. And you have lunch and you spend a couple hours together. But when you leave, you feel satisfied. You don't feel necessarily that. And even if you say to the person, because I've had this happen to me with friends that I haven't seen, even if you say, yeah, I'll tell you, this is a lot of fun. We should do you end up? No. You don't, because your lives are, I mean, sometimes maybe you do. I'm not saying it never happens. You know, sometimes a friendship can be rekindled and you start hanging out like the old days, but it generally doesn't happen because you're not the same people anymore. You know what I mean? And it's fun to get together and just hang out and reminisce and maybe maybe you do that once every few years. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's never going to be the same as it once was.
I had that with a girl that I dated in high school, man. Like in high school, like we were that mad, young love, head over heels for each other, the whole fucking 9 yards. And we tried rekindling something as adults much later on.
Well, that's a relationship. But I get it. It's the same thing.
The same thing happened because we got at the very beginning, we were caught up in the nostalgia of it and it was fun. But then I think we both realized we were not the same people that we were in high school.
That's it.
You know what I mean? We were that part of us of who we once were no longer those people. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. It's just
no. I mean, listen, it happens, especially in a relationship for sure. I can totally see that, you know, I mean, because it's so funny. Like when I look at, like obviously my friend Bruce. Now Bruce is an exception. I mean, you know, we never really lost touch, so that also helps. But I met Bruce when I was 13. Now, we've known each other for nearly 30 years. Now, obviously, it's helped that we left Ottawa. We arrived in Toronto. We both work in the entertainment industry. He's on the film side of things. I'm, of course, I'm on the acting side of things with, you know, the voiceover and stuff. And, you know, so we're in the same business, more or less, so to speak. So that, that obviously helps. And we recognize how rare that is. We've known each other 30 years this September, and we're the best of friends. I mean, we see each other several times a month. I mean, we just made a movie together, right? So that rarely happens. But I have friends who I've known for years who I don't see anymore and who I get together with on occasion, whatever, and it's great, whatever. And then, you know, because you're not the same people anymore and you have other lives that are happening. And I mean, so yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I haven't had that with any relationships. But I mean, I've been with my current partner now for 10 years. So, but before her, I never had that kind of thing, you know, a relationship that I had that I rekindled or tried to rekindle years later or something.
10 years?
I've been with her for 10 years. Yeah.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, 10 years. Great.
I don't even know what that's like.
Great. It's great. Well, I think it's because we're very different, but at the same time, we're very supportive of each other. So now she doesn't work in the entertainment industry, and I think that actually helps as well. She's very supportive of me, and she'll, you know, she comes with me to.
And she's not trying to push you into put a ring on it.
No.
That's what I mean. That's what's awesome about it.
No, neither of us want to get married, and obviously we don't have children and all that kind of stuff, and but it's great. So but very supportive, and I think that's what really is all about, is accepting who each other are and supporting each other, embracing, you know, each other's sides and things like that, and it's been great. So it's been over 10 years now. It's been about 10 and a half years. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, but the point I was going to make earlier, sorry. I just want to say the point I was going to make with Bruce is now Bruce has 2 sons. His sons are they're 20, almost 21 and 19, which is crazy. He had them very young, of course. And he has 2 daughters. They're his stepdaughters technically, but they're his daughters for all intents and purposes, who are 15 and 13, I think. And it's so crazy. Now, when I look at these girls who are 15 and 13. Okay. But let's take the oldest one who's 15, you know, very sweet. They're great kids. I love them. I adore them. And, but it's funny when you watch them and you talk to them and whatever, as a almost 43-year-old man, now I don't have kids of my own, so I would have seen this earlier if I had kids of my own, but talking to, you know, being Uncle Dave and talking to these kids who are 50, they're so 15. Like, I mean, and when you think back to when we were 15 and, you know, what you know, what was so important to you, and we thought we were so mature and we knew. These girls, no disrespect to you ladies, you are amazing, but you know, it's like they're 15, you know? So it's like, well, of course, a relationship you had when you're 15 is going to be light years different if you're trying to connect in your 40s. I mean, you know, it's the level of maturity is night and day. Yep. Way beyond anything, you know, and we were pretty mature for our age, you know, back in the day.
I've always
just
said
so funny
that, and I don't know if you experienced this at all at any point in your youth. When I say youth, I'll say from junior high to high school. You guys have junior high up there, right?
Oh yeah.
Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. Okay.
Yeah.
You will. I don't know if you got it, but if anyone can relate to this, you will never love someone like you did during that time if you were able to find someone to share that moment with, or even two. Maybe you had one in junior high and high school. And the reason why I say it is because at that time in your life, you could literally love someone unconditionally. One, you don't have responsibilities of the real world.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
So you can be carefree.
All that matters to you is eating, sports, television, and girls.
And her. And that's it, or him, if you're, or however, whatever,
or both,
you know,
whatever,
or both, exactly, whatever
you're into,
exactly, and I miss that. I do miss that, like innocence that to
childhood
where
innocence.
all that mattered was your girl and your homework, and well, if you did your homework,
right,
you know, and that was it. That's all life was, and then like. I'm not saying you don't love, like, you know, for those who are in the chat room who are married, you know, and whatnot. I'm not saying you don't love them, but it's different. It's different. It's not, you'll never get to experience that type of carefree love ever again.
Well, I mean, you'd only been I mean, okay, what's 15 years ago? 15 years ago is what, 2007? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember 2007 really well, don't you? I remember that year, 2007. Well, when we were 15, that's how many years we had been alive on the planet.
I saw the greatest Halloween movie ever that year.
No, but think about this though, right? When you're 15, the world feels so like, you feel so, 15 years is nothing. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. I mean, you'd only been alive for 15 years and fucking 5 of those years. I mean, you were 10 only 5 years earlier. It's crazy. It's crazy. A few people in the chat here are like, Dave, time to buy a ring, dude. Put a ring on it. Well, but she doesn't want to get married, you see. So both of us.
No, I think Dave's got the right situation.
Well, yeah, that's what I see. We're together. That was one of the things that was very important to us, is that she didn't want to get married and I didn't want to get married either. So then we're not, it's not like I'm holding out or she's waiting. It's not that kind of a relationship. We're both in an agreement that neither of us want to get married. It's the Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell thing. Okay. So that's how you have to look at it. So everything's good, folks. So you
guys are doing what I would love to do, which is the life companion partner.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind if I met someone and shared, you know, a life with that person, I'm on the same page as you. I don't see and I never did. I never saw myself getting married. I never saw myself doing the kid thing. I love being an uncle. I do. I love the relationship that I have with my niece and nephews.
Yeah.
You know, but I just, you just know. I think if anyone in the chat room knows, you just know whether or not you've got the mental capacity to want to take care of kids.
Exactly.
That's a fucking, taking care of kids is a huge responsibility. And I sure as shit do not want to be a deadbeat father.
No. And neither of us wanted to have kids, which is, we've all been through, I'm not gonna say we all have, but certainly, when you're younger, you get involved. She's so hot. Or, if you're a girl, he's so hot. Or, if you swing, whatever way you swing. Right. And that's fine. I mean, you're young and you're sowing some oats. Whatever it is, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But, we often get involved in relationships with people that have no long-term, and that was one of the things that was so important to myself and my current partner, which was, we both, she was very adamant. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I was like, me too. So it wouldn't have lasted 10 and a half years. It was like, I want to have kids one day. Well, then why am I getting involved? Listen, if I'm 19, I'm stupid. I just want to be with you because you're hot. Okay, sure. Okay, fine. But when you're in your 30s, which I was, why are we, there's no long-term, it doesn't make any sense, right? You get to a certain age where priorities matter and you realize, oh, hang on a second here. I have to find somebody who feels the same way about this. They're out there. I just have to find them. And we found each other that way and it works out perfect. It's great. You know what I mean? So that's,
and on top of that, dude, you and I are going to be 43 in May.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying you and I are old in the sense
where you fucking goddamn son of a bitch. Little older.
But we're not old in the sense to where we can't have kids. You know what I mean? We can.
No.
But here's the thing. I
have 50 out there somewhere. No.
Yeah. I'm already an impatient person to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of, first of all, I have to meet someone. That's number one. Number two, I'm not going to rush into anything. So let's just say if I met someone this year, I wouldn't even begin to start thinking about marriage with that person for at least another 3 years, minimally 3 years. I'm not I'm not one of these people who are like, okay, meet someone, get married a year. Fuck that. No, I will. If I did decide to get married
with Elvis Presley in Vegas.
Hell yeah. Actually, hell yeah. You joke. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, totally fucking do that.
Baby, come
on. But so that puts us now at 46. Okay. And I'm saying I have to meet someone by the time I turn 43.
Right.
So if I marry that person by the time I'm 46, well, I'm not going to turn around and immediately have kids with her. I'm going to want to spend some time with her as my wife. So let's just figure a year or two minimally.
Yeah.
That's going to put me to 48 years old. You really think I want to be raising a teenager in my fucking 60s? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No. And a lot of more and more women today too are also choosing that. There are more. Yeah. Listen, there are still millions of children being born, but there are also more women today than there have been at any other point in history who are also choosing to not have kids for a variety of reasons. They just don't want to. Maybe they, there's a variety of reasons why they're very career focused, whatever it is. Maybe they think they will eventually, but don't. We have to remember back in our parents' day, people were having kids in their late teens, early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
Now it's very common for women, although
how old was your mom? My mom was 21 when she had me.
Well, no, I was later in life because I was, my mother was.
Oh, okay, that's right. So how old was she when she had your brothers and sisters?
My mom was 20 when she had my sister Jill.
Okay.
And then she had, Neil and Bob and
so our parents were having, your parents were having kids young.
Right.
You were a surprise.
No, I wasn't actually. I was planned.
Dave was a drunken night.
I was actually planned, but my mother was 35 when she had me and my father was 37. So now today that's almost kind of, fairly normal, but in 1979, that was not normal. It wasn't unprecedented, but it certainly wasn't the norm. But my advice to anybody getting into a relationship is that really do not settle. I know you might, she's so hot or he's so hot or so. I don't mean you find out on the first date. So you want to have kids? You want to get married? Come on. No. I mean, come on. It has to be organic. But if you are dating somebody who really does want to get married, it's really important to them or would really love to have kids, get out. I don't mean you got to be mean, but don't continue this. And you don't want to, do not, it's pointless. It's pointless. It's only delaying the inevitable and heartache at the end of the day. I know it's easier said than done. If you're 19 or 20 or, 22, I don't hold any fault. You're young, you're probably newly sexual, you're having fun. You're a kid. I get it. But if you're in your 30s or 40s, or your 30s at least, and your late 20s, early 30s, and you're starting to become a real sort of working member, adult of society, and you want to meet somebody, and what are you doing? What are you doing? It's you're just going to be in this cycle of heartache.
Not only that, man, I can't even imagine right now, especially right now, given the current state. Look, now maybe some of you in the
chat get to these super chats in a minute.
Yeah, we haven't forgotten you guys. Don't worry.
No.
Maybe some people in the chat room are, on the financial, stable end, or not stable, but, where this inflation isn't hurting them. Okay. But I do think of the people like my sister and, who she does decent. She's a registered nurse, she's not like hurting, but she's got 3 kids. She's got mouths to feed, and you're watching not just the gas prices, but you're watching, like, I'm sure you're getting the supermarket, seeing the prices in food, and
prices are going up here too. Yeah.
They're going nuts. So I'm like, people got to keep that in mind. Like, I know I see some people in the chat room saying, you just got to have kids. You just got to have, look, bro, right now in the way our society
Nobody has to have kids.
It's not as easy. And look, financial stress is the number one reason why people end up getting divorced.
100%.
It is the number one reason. And like, with the way our economy is, it's not going to get better. I mean, Jesus, they're projecting us to be around $7 a gallon for gas by the summer. It's like, what the fuck? And you got to take care of kids. You got to put food on the table and all that stuff like that. Like, shit, I don't want that fucking stress. I'm already stressed as it is, and I'm a single person.
I've seen that before in the past, not related to me, but I've seen that before in the past, and not here on the channel. I just mean in my life, throughout my life. I've seen people get very upset when somebody says, I don't want to have kids. I have no desire to have kids. And they say, no, like, no, you have to have kids. Oh, you'll have kids. You have to have kids. Why don't you want to have kids? You have to have kids. Listen, I have far more respect for somebody who knows what they want and knows that, I don't hate children. I just don't want to have kids because I don't want to bear that responsibility. And I have far more respect for somebody who says that, abides by it, follows through on it, than somebody who doesn't want to have kids, gets themselves into a situation where they have children and then can't end up taking care of the child, or they take care of the child for a little bit, but because of the circumstances, they end up divorcing or leaving or whatever, and then the kid grows up without a father or a mother, and I'm not saying every kid that grew up with a father and mother ends up being listen, I come from a broken home as well. My parents divorced when I was 4. But I'm just saying that I have far more respect for people who say, I just don't want to have kids. And
really?
They don't have
Your
kids.
Parents got divorced in 83 too?
83, 84, around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Same with mine.
Yeah.
We have lived a very weird parallel life.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's one of those things where it's, I don't understand this. No, you have to have, nobody has to have fucking kids at all. There's a lot of people having children. I don't need to have them. It's just, listen, if billions of people around the world suddenly didn't want to have kids, we might have a problem because, the human race might die off pretty quick, but we're nowhere near that. So there's lots of people that are having kids.
We're overpopulated.
We're way overpopulated. I commend people who say, you know what? I don't want to have kids. And most of the time, people who don't want to have children, it's not because they hate children. It's just because they don't want to have that kind of responsibility, because they have other focuses in their life that they want to attend to. And and maybe it's because I am that person. So I have a lot of respect for people that are like that. But I also know a lot of people that don't have kids either, and they're fine. They're fine. Yeah, I never understood that. Super chat, Fast Forwards 289 says, my favorite TV show to watch is The Andy Griffith Show.
I can't whistle. Wasn't what's his name on that show? Ron
Don
Howard?
Knotts? Ron Howard, yeah, it was Opie.
Yeah. Opie.
That's
right. Opie.
I like the spinoff, Gomer Pyle. Hey, Andy. Yeah, those were fun shows. Those were fun shows to watch for sure.
Yeah, I like watching some of the shows my parents grew up watching. Some of those old black and
Leave
white.
It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver.
I Love Lucy.
Oh, I love Lucy. I was just about to say that. Lucy, that's my
Did
girl.
you watch the Being the Ricardos with Nicole Kidman?
I have not yet.
Really
and I know
good.
they've got a documentary. I think it's a documentary, a Lucy documentary that's coming out soon.
I don't know. Maybe.
I saw a trailer for something. I saw the Nicole Kidman trailer. I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, it's good.
I think there's a trailer. A Lucy. It's a documentary on Lucy and
Desi?
her husband. Desi, thank you. Yeah, dude, Lucy's my girl. Love her.
She's awesome.
Love Lucy. Yeah.
Edward Needle, love your avatar, Edward. That's Godzilla from Godzilla 1985. Sends in $10. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, D&T, do you remember the TV shows Tales from the Dark and Monsters? I believe they aired during the 80s. Tales from the Dark sounds familiar. Monsters?
Monsters, I don't know, but Tales from the Dark, actually, that does sound really familiar.
Let me just do a quick Google search here. Tales from the Dark. I'm going to put up Monsters first. Monsters, 1988. Okay. Let's see here. Let me just look at some images. See if I've ever seen this. I don't really recall Monsters. No. I don't recognize it. Tales from the Dark. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I don't. Tales from the Dark sounds familiar, but there's a lot of things that sound like Tales from the Crypt, and there's a lot of things that sound like that. So maybe I'm just thinking of that. I'm not familiar with either. But thank you for the super chat, man. I really appreciate that. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99, says, I agree. When they did an hour reunion show back in the old days, that's right, they used to do things like that.
They did. Dukes of Hazzard did like a few of those.
Yeah, like they did with Andy Griffith or the Dukes of Hazzard. Were great.
There you go.
You got to see where they were without getting burnt out. I could not agree more. Yeah, I would be totally down for something like that. Okay, was that all the super chats?
Do you know what I just realized?
What's that?
I just realized we're rocking my two all-time favorite bands tonight, Nirvana and Motley Crue.
Oh yeah.
Motley Crue's one, Nirvana's two, but they're there.
It's close.
As far as rock bands goes, those are my ones and twos.
Very cool.
I just noticed that. I'm like, wait, he's wearing Nirvana and I'm wearing Motley.
I am. Okay, so should we wrap it up or because you got
that's what she said.
What time? Oh, I see what you're saying. Now, what time are you going on with your friends?
9 o'clock. So we can go to 8:30 if you want.
You want to go to 8:30? Another 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do it. Another 10 minutes, folks. 10 minutes left in the show. Yeah,
and I've already got my notes and shit that I'm prepared. I'm good.
Cool. Don Wilk 91 says, if someone says that Dave say, are you gonna raise them? Then mind your business. If someone says that Dave say, are you gonna raise them? Mind your business. Oh, I see what you're saying. If someone says, why do you have a kid? Say, are you gonna raise them? No, I don't think so. Well, it's kind of funny. There's this running joke that so Bruce obviously has kids, and Bruce is not a big fan of pets. He doesn't hate animals or anything. He grew up in a situation where they had too many animals, that kind of stuff. So he doesn't hate pets or anything, but he's never desired to have a pet of his own. Let's just say that. So there was this funny exchange we had a few years ago when he was over at my place and we were hanging out with Veda, my cat, of course. And I was doing something with Veda, and Bruce was, he said something. He was joking, of course. He was being funny. And he's like, yeah, pets. Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility. That's why I don't have pets. And I turned to him and I said, yeah, that's why I don't have children. And he's like, touche. So it's just kind of funny joke. And obviously pets are a way less responsibility than a child. Having a child is the most important thing in the world, for God's sakes.
Speaking of pets, I'm surprised you don't have a dog. I am. You do strike me as someone who would have
I've thought about it. I have. I've thought about it.
I could see Dave with either like a Labrador or like maybe even a golden.
Well, we did. I mean, my sister had a golden retriever named Indy. I named him Indy after Indiana Jones.
With that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I love dogs. I love dogs. Yeah. And it's coming. There might be a little dog in the future coming. Of course, Veda's not going to have. Veda will let the dog know who's boss. I'm sure. It might be coming. Mohammed Nabil sends in 25 AED. I'll just say that. No question for me today, just a contribution to support you fellas and the effort you put into the channel. Always love watching you both when I can. Well, thank you very much, Mohammed. Really appreciate that. Akeem Patterson sends in $4.99. Thank you, Akeem. And says, were you a fan of Tales from the Crypt? Yeah, I was not a fan. I've seen a few.
Yeah, the same thing. Like I wasn't like a super fan, but like when it was on, I watched it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, like it had to be kind of one of those like I was up and catching it type scenario.
Yes.
I was like, oh, Tails is on. Let me watch it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But like I didn't tune in like TGIF where like we would watch that because Tails pretty much ran within that same stretch, right? Late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember.
I think so. Somewhere around there. Yeah, somewhere around there.
So if I was up to catch a show, I'd watch it.
Yeah. Veronica, is it
I'm not even trying to pronounce it.
Provencal? Am I saying that right? Provencal? You'll let me know, Veronica. How is Veda, Dave? Well, Veda, first of all, is spelled V-A-D-A, like Darth Vader. That's why we named it. It was my girlfriend that named her Veda. It's not actually named after the girl in My Girl.
That's what I was going to say. Is it named after the girl from My Girl?
No, it is a Star Wars, because she's a black cat. So we named her Veda instead of Vader.
Vader.
Gotcha. That's right. So Veda sounds a little more feminine because she's a girl. She's good. She's 8 years old now. It's hard to believe I've had her for 8 years. I've had her for 7 years. I adopted her when she was 1. So, but she's doing good. She's probably out there in the basement somewhere, hanging out, waiting for me to come out so we can settle in and watch a movie or whatever. She's my movie buddy. Cody Snyder sends in $2 and says, is your cat named after the My Girl character? Oh, there you go. I literally just answered that. That's so funny, Cody. No, it's not. It's the feminine Vader. I mean, I guess we could have called her Vader, but that sounds too boyish. So it was Veda. Now, when I went to adopt her, it's funny. So how I adopted her was, well, I won't tell that whole story. I don't want to take up too much time. But when I went to adopt her, her adoptive name was Yoda. And I was like, Yoda? I'm like, not Yoda. Because you know how, if you go, they have little names to, And I'm like, I'm not calling her Yoda. It's a girl. I'm not going to call her Yoda. That's a boy's name. So my girlfriend was like, well, what about Veda instead of Vader? And I was like, ooh. I didn't even think of the My Girl character when she said it. I just was like, oh, that's good. Because she's a black cat. So I thought, oh, that's really good. So yeah, she is Darth Vader. Actually, I call her Empress Veda because she rules the house. So
there you go. Yeah, when I get my next one here, because I'm going to get one soon now that Xena she's going to be 4 this year.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I want to get Xena a mate,
buddy.
Like a friend, a buddy, another female, and she's the female that I'm gonna get. That's gonna be Harley. I'm going for it now.
Same kind of dog.
My girl, Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, same kind of dog.
I don't know if I'm gonna go with same. It may be in the same, but yeah, I've been Harley was definitely at the top of my list, obviously for Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pull the trigger just yet, but I think I'm going to pull the trigger on that now and finally go and do that and get a dog and name her Harley.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see this new edition eventually. Andrew Jones sends in $15. Thank you, Andrew. Says, hey guys, what if idea? Ginny from Friday 2 starts a support group for other final girls, goes back to Camp Crystal Lake for therapy. Thoughts? That's kind of a funny, I could see that. It sounds a little, I don't know. Sounds like it would be a good, I don't know. I don't think that's what they would do, but it's kind of a fun idea. You know, Ginny years later is a support therapist for Final Girls, right, of Jason's victims.
There you go.
So Chris is there and Alice is there. And yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Edward Nito slips one in nearly at the buzzer. $5 says, Dave, what's your favorite scene from Godzilla 85? Mine is when he's walking up Mount Mahara. I think that's how you say that. At the end of the movie. That is a great shot. Yeah, when he starts to come up over the horizon, you hear the roar and his mouth slowly opening and closing. It's an awesome shot. My favorite scene. There's a lot. I like when he's first introduced. You know, when the guy comes out and falls down and the ground splits open and he's there and he's like, Godzilla, Godzilla, you know, and the camera kind of pans up to him. He's like, you know, it's like, I still think the suit, because it's a suit, it's a guy in a suit, but the suit in Godzilla 1985 is still to this day one of the best Godzilla suits I've ever seen. I never think it's a guy. I mean, kind of, but never. It looks so good, even to this day, 7 years later, or whatever. So yeah, I like that scene, but there's a lot of good ones. That one at the end, it's so sad too. It's such a sad ending, but Raymond Burr's speech, nature has a way sometimes of reminding man of just how small he is. I used to have this memorized. She occasionally throws up the something of our pride and carelessness to remind us of how puny we really are in the face of a tornado, an earthquake, and a Godzilla. No, I think she occasionally reminds. Anyways, I got it backwards. I used to know it off by heart. It was so good. Such a great speech.
Bobby Hall's been asking us this question. I don't know
Bobby.
if we'll have time to squeeze it all in, but he says, Dave and Tony, how would you guys rank the endings of all the Halloween movies? I'm assuming you mean the ones with Michael. Man, that's like a long, I mean, I know you've been asking that. I've seen it come up several times. I can tell you off the top of my head, my top two favorites are Halloween and Halloween 4. As far as, you know, but to go through the run of the whole franchise, man.
Yeah.
I don't watch them enough, you know, to sit there and go through every single movie, but, if I were to rattle it off really quick and just, you know, I wish I could spend more time on it to really think about it through. 1 and 4 for death for sure, or 1 and 2 are at the top of the list. Then after that, we're just talking about endings now.
I would go 1, 2, 4.
1, 2, 4. Okay.
1, 2, 4.
I'm reversing that. I'm going 1, 4, 2.
Right.
Yep.
Halloween 2, 81 we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. To be clear,
Not,
you know, then, you know, even though the movie, you know, it gets mixed fan reaction. I like what kills it is resurrection, but I do like the ending of H2O when she fucking decapitates him. Right. You know, that's a pretty solid ending. Not too crazy about Curse 5. It's, you know, how did Resurrection ending? Oh wait, never mind. The fire and the
I know.
Hey, hanging there. Okay,
motherfucker.
Are we gonna count Rob Zombies as well too?
You said all the Halloween
actually. You know
films.
what? I'll put Rob Zombie's first Halloween after Halloween H2O, because Scout on top of him, shooting him, killing him. Because we're just talking about the ending now. We're not talking about the movies themselves.
Right.
How did it end in the 2018 film again?
Michael in the fire in the house and just the breathing.
Yeah. Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's such a loaded question. It's a good question, but it's loaded.
It's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I would put that one, the ending of the fire after the Rob Zombies ending. Kills. I liked it because I actually wish, I know why they didn't keep it in because of the jump time with the 4 years. But I do like the director's cut ending of Michael calling Laurie, breathing, and Laurie walking out. That's pretty cool. I liked it better than what we got. We got was just very you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly, it's the 4 that I'm really in, because those are the 4 that I watch the most, is the original, Halloween 4, Halloween 2, and H2O.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
It's the same. The only time I watch Halloween 5, 6
is for this,
even H2O for me. So I'm just 5, 6, H2O, Resurrection, any of the Rob Zombie films is for you guys. I don't watch them on my own. Like I don't. It's October, so I'm like, I'm gonna pop in Halloween 5. I don't do it. I'll watch 1, 2, and 4, and that's it.
That's it.
So.
And like don't take the top 4 that I mentioned. 1, 4, 2, and H2O. That's definite. The rest, I'm just honestly, I'm throwing shit in there because I don't, like you just said, dude. I don't watch those enough to where I could be like, Halloween 5 ending, kills, and like I didn't know, because really, like you said, the three go-tos are 1, 2, and 4 for me, and that's it. And I do get a mood for H2O. It's like it's a mood for me, and I'll throw it on. But
her round breasts. What you talk about, round breasts? Melon breasts. Yeah, that's
good old Josh Hartnett. Whatever happened to
him? No, that was LL Cool J.
No, I know, but I was just thinking Josh Hartnett. Like he just like vanished.
He vanished. He did. All right. Well, listen.
All right.
That's going to do it for episode 144 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Hey, if you're just tuning in, if you've made it to the end of the show, the first hour of the show today was about Jessica Biel and a what-if scenario to return for a final installment to complete the trilogy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot series. Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Did you like what we had to say? What would you do with a Jessica Biel return? Pretty cool stuff. Thank you to our moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, and thank you to the Super Chat questions that came in, the non-Super Chat questions that came in. You guys are amazing, but you know you are. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, this was good. Enjoyed it. I like the ideas. I thought they were cool. I don't know if they'll ever do that, but it was still fun to talk about another what if.
I could not agree more. We'll be back next week. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. In the meantime and in between time,